This may be a hot take, so don't freak out, but I don't think the Sterilizer is a very good support weapon.
Daring today, aren't we?
But why isn't it very good, and what could be changed about it to make it good? The Sterilizer functions nearly identically to the Flamethrower, but rather than shooting a constant stream of fire, it shoots a constant stream of toxic gas. The problem isn't that toxic gas isn't good. It's actually very useful in a lot of situations. The problem is that there are so many better ways of applying toxic gas. Gas grenades, the gas guard dog, and the orbital gas strike are all better ways of inflicting toxic gas on enemies. At least the Sterilizer is unique in that it is the only support weapon to inflict toxic gas. Oh wait. The spear gun inflicts toxic gas, and it competes with weapons like the anti-material rifle and railgun in terms of lethality. So the Sterilizer is outclassed by a multitude of other tools in the game in terms of inflicting toxic gas. But can it at least serve as a side grade to the Flamethrower? Not even close. The Flamethrower deals over 600 damage per second, with an additional 100 damage per second when enemies are on fire. This burning damage can be increased by 25% by unlocking the corresponding ship upgrade as well.
Now that's a lot of damage!
The Flamethrower also has some utility as an area denial tool, lighting the ground on fire to more effectively hold enemies at choke points and to deal more damage to more enemies. Even with all of this, I still wouldn't consider the Flamethrower to be one of the strongest support weapons compared to some of its peers, but it certainly gets the job done. The Sterilizer, on the other hand, does 25 damage per second. Let me say that again in case you didn't hear me. 25 DPS.
25.
The Sterilizer may be the worst support weapon in the entire game, and yes, I say that fully aware of the one true flag in the room. In concept, the Sterilizer is a utility weapon rather than a damage weapon, and I think that's really cool. I like the things in this game that don't just deal damage but offer some kind of other benefit. Things like this can open the door to some really cool and unique playstyles. For example, using the stim pistol to keep your teammate alive while they fire the double-edged sickle for 2 minutes straight. The problem with the Sterilizer is that the utility it offers simply isn't useful enough to justify ever bringing it. That's why I came up with a better utility. If I had any say at Arrowhead Studios, then the Sterilizer would no longer fire toxic gas. Instead, it would spray corrosive acid. Visually, it would be similar to the acid attacks of Bile Titans, Bile Spewers, and the new Dragon Roach enemies, but it would function entirely uniquely. With this corrosive acid spray, the Sterilizer could maintain its very low damage, but instead of confusing enemies like the toxic gas does, it would inflict an entirely unique effect instead. When any part of an enemy's body is sprayed with enough corrosive acid, then the armor level on that part of its body would be reduced by 1. For example, if you spray the Sterilizer at a Hulk's faceplate, it would be reduced from heavy armor to medium armor. If you spray a Harvester's leg joints, you could take it down with a light armor penetrating weapon rather than needing medium. This weakened or corroded portion of the enemy should have some visual indicator, maybe a green tint or something, to indicate to players that that's where the enemy has been weakened. I don't think enemies should be able to recover from this effect, but if they can, it should take a fairly long time to give players ample opportunity to take advantage of it. Let me go on a quick tangent about the way armor levels work in Helldivers 2. When firing a heavy armor penetrating weapon into heavy armor, your damage is cut in half. Even though your weapon is capable of damaging the corresponding armor level, when armor levels are matched like this, your weapon will only deal 50% of its regular damage. In order to deal 100% of your weapon's damage, you'll need to hit spots on enemies that are less armored than what your weapon is rated for. So, with this in mind, the Sterilizer's corrosive acid effect would not only be useful in situations where you're attempting to take down an enemy with a higher armor level than your weapon of choice, it would also double the time to kill on enemies with armor levels matching your weapons. Imagine playing with a teammate using the HMG while you run the Sterilizer. You could run around, softening Hulks and War Striders for your buddy while he takes down the weakened enemies with only a handful of shots each. A change like this has the potential to make the Sterilizer a very powerful support weapon. So what would keep it balanced? For starters, I think its short range and lack of much damage on its own would be enough to make it feel fairly risky to use. In order to get the most out of it, you'd have to run right up to the most dangerous enemies, and ideally have a teammate ready to kill said enemies once they are weakened. In order to give the weapon some nuance, I think only the portion of the enemy's body that was shot with the Sterilizer should be weakened. That being said, the wide, cone-like spray of this weapon should make hitting most spots on enemies very easy. Another limitation would be the time it takes to weaken enemy armor. For this, I came up with a simple system. The higher an enemy's armor, the longer you'll have to spray that armor in order to weaken it. For light armor, the effect should apply within 1 second, resulting in no armor. For medium armor, the effect should take 2 seconds of sustained fire. For heavy armor, the effect should take 3 seconds, and for anti-tank armor, the effect should take 4 seconds of sustained fire. I think this is a pretty reasonable limitation on the Sterilizer's effectiveness, especially paired with the fact that it can only ever decrease armor level by a value of 1. With a rework like this, I think the Sterilizer would go from one of the most useless support weapons to potentially one of the best, or at least one of the most interesting to bring on missions. The potential synergies with other weapons are endless and would add a whole new layer to crafting loadouts and team compositions. I think a lot of players, myself included, would have a lot of fun having a support weapon that truly plays a support role and would enjoy using it to assist our teammates who brought the heavier firepower. If you like this idea, then consider sharing this video around. Maybe we can actually get Arrowhead to stop neglecting this support weapon with every passing balance patch. If you have any thoughts of your own on the Sterilizer, then please leave a comment and let me know. If you enjoyed the video, good. Thank you for watching.